Hi everyone, my name is Alexis Cunningham. My lesson plan this week was for vocab or vocabulary. Um, I have to tell you, while doing my vocabulary lesson, I would write vocab a bunch and it would automatically put it into vocabulary, which was nice because, vocab. All right. My grade here is second grade, and the lesson title is just Who Would Win Hyena versus Honey Badger vocabulary lesson. My core standards are, since it is a nonfiction book, I did 1.2, determine or clarify the meaning of unknown and multiple meaning words and phrases based on grade level reading and content, choosing flexibly from a range of strategies and tools, determine or clarify the meaning of unknown or multiple meaning words and phrases based on grade level reading and content, choosing from a range of strategies and tools. My objectives before the reading, students will be able to share what they know about the vocabulary words using context clues. During the reading, students will be able to provide synonyms, antonyms, and definitions for the vocabulary words, which is really just throughout the reading. And then after the reading, students will be able to organize the vocabulary words and determine how they are related. After the lesson, students will be able to write sentences using the vocabulary words is my final objective. So the materials here would be the book, and I included the author, illustrator, and date. It was published 2018. It is a Scholastic book. If you guys haven't seen these books, Who Would Win? There's like a series of them. So the one I'm choosing here is Hyena versus Honey Badger, but they have like Great White versus Killer Whale. Like, there's a bunch of them there that kids really enjoy. So I would need that book plus some copies for students to follow along. I want large notebook paper, the vocabulary worksheet, which I'll share with you in a second, markers and crayons, pencil, agree and disagree bounce cards, and a semantic word map example. I don't have a semantic word map example included in my lesson plan. I was just planning on Googling one if need be. But again, I'll get to that part of my lesson then. Here is the worksheet that I would be providing students with. So they'd write the word in the middle, the definition, a sentence, antonyms, and synonyms. And then, this worksheet has 4. We will be working with 10 words, so they would do that for all 10. And they're not just filling it out, don't worry. All right, so my before reading. To start the vocab lesson, the teacher will have a list of words we are going to read or look at in the story written on the board. So the words that I picked out of the story, I did read the story first and then picked the words out, are prey, predator, mammal, omnivore, pack, cackle, venomous, den, larva, and ferocious. The teacher will introduce the book, Who Would Win, Hyena versus Honey Badger. Then the teacher will lead the class in a discussion about each word. The discussion would be to allow for students to share what they know about each word's meaning. Dialogue would be like, have any of you seen these words before? Do you know what they mean already? And then, getting into the predicting part of the lesson, I want you to think about what each word means. We're going to make predictions by thinking about what we already know from looking at the cover of the book. So this would be guided. As a class, we would start with the first word. The teacher would provide a spoken sentence using each word and model by saying, prey. Looking at the book, we know that it's going to be about how hyenas and honey badgers interact with each other in the wild. I'm going to use the word prey in a sentence for you. Deer are prey to wolves. If I were to guess what this word means just by the sentence, I would think about what I know about deer and wolves. I know wolves are dangerous and fast. I know deer are gentle and cute. So I think the word prey might mean in danger. So I would really incorporate think alouds here for my modeling, at least the first word. I wouldn't want students to get the full definition before the reading of the book. I really want them to use context clues and just, looking at pictures, using background knowledge to think about what these words mean before I give them the definition. So the teacher will say a sentence using each word above, but without modeling further. So I wouldn't provide my think alouds past that first sentence. The teacher will have students turn to a partner and discuss what they think the meaning is based on the sentence and the book. Then the teacher will ask a couple of students to share what they think each word means, and the teacher will write these predictions on the board once we agreed as a class. And then I just want to make sure. Yes, okay, sorry. I was making sure that I did not include the bounce cards in that section and that I saved them for a later section. All right, so during the reading, the teacher will read the book to the class aloud, asking them to put a finger on their nose every time they heard one of our words. Students will have their own copies of the book to follow along as the teacher reads. And then some of the words are defined in the book. If the class hears the definition, the teacher would have students put their hands on their head, indicating for her to stop, so the class can write the definitions together. The teacher will write them on the board, and the students will write them in the definition part of the worksheet provided. After the reading of the book and defining the words, students would complete the synonyms and antonyms portion of the worksheet. The book does give numerous synonyms in the story of the words above. So for example, one of the words was den. The book provides a bunch of different words that have the same meaning as of den. So den is where hyenas find shelter, for example. So they say like hive is where bees find shelter, for example. So in the lesson, I would have students think about different homes for different animals, for example. Okay, so then antonyms are not provided in the book. However, the teacher would instruct students to think about what an antonym could be and make an educated guess. If they are really stuck, like again, some of the words are not very hard to define, especially with after the reading. So I don't think it'd be hard for them to come up with antonyms for some of them. Maybe except for homes, they can use any class resource or brainstorm with a partner if they are having trouble. However, I would encourage students to really think about this part before looking for the answers elsewhere. After students have time to complete these sections, the class would review which words went where and educated guesses of antonyms for the words. I don't think I detailed or gave you details about what class resources could be for students who are looking for antonyms. This could be a dictionary, thesaurus. It could be any internet resource, any books, magazines, any of the classroom print around the class that we have displayed. So those are what I mean by resources. So after the teacher asked for volunteers to share, students would hold up their agree and disagree bounce cards for each word in each section. If something would need to change or be reviewed, the teacher would use the internet as a resource and display up front our investigations of the words. So really, I just want to foster a discussion for each vocabulary word here. I want to provide students the opportunity to share synonyms, antonyms, share their definitions that we already went over as a class, and just kind of tie it all together and make sure that the whole class agrees and disagrees about each vocabulary word. All right, so after my reading here, and after the worksheet, the students would be broken into groups. Each group would be provided with a big piece of notebook paper. This is where the teacher would show students the example of a semantic word map, indicating that the teacher wants them to think about how these words are related. They will be instructed to collaborate as a group and use all of the words and some of the new synonyms to figure out how each is related to the topic. In this case, the topic is hyenas versus honey badgers. Students would be encouraged, or just, nature in general. Students would be encouraged to explain why to each other using copies of their book. These can be made with markers and crayons, and then if there's time, students can draw pictures as well. But once finished, each group would present to the class how they organized and related each word on their map. So in assessment, students will complete the final portion of the worksheet, which is the sentence section. Students are to create one sentence using the word in its proper context, and it would be detailed, not just a honey badger is a mammal. Students would have to explain what the words mean by using it in a sentence. I would say to students to indicate this, when you write your sentences, I want you to be able to figure out what the word means by the way you use it in your sentence. A sentence cannot be the following: venomous means poison, or a snake is venomous. The teacher will provide students with an example of what she would be looking for. So my example here using those words, a venomous snake is dangerous to humans because its bite shoots poison into the body. So I explained why it's venomous, and I explained really what venomous means. It's poisonous to us because of the poison that the snake has in its, in its bite. So the proficient level here would be 8 out of the original 10 words would have a sentence explaining the word, like the example given. Above proficiency is 9 or all of the words, and below proficiency is less than 8 words being used in a sentence, or using one of those sentences that, doesn't explain what the word means. And the reason I have the proficiency so high here at 8 is just because I feel like my lesson's pretty in depth with these vocab words. They're looking at synonyms, antonyms, definitions. They're using them in sentences. We're creating concept maps. We're fostering discussions. We're agreeing and disagreeing on definitions at the same, or as a class. So I think, proficiency should be pretty high with these words given. My adaptations for ELLs or special needs students, the teacher will provide time before the lesson for these students to look through the book. The teacher would also go over each word that will be discussed, giving students the definitions of the words before the lesson also. So it's really just explicit instruction here for each word. While the students are discussing the definitions, the teacher would provide pictures for examples of the word. So I didn't include these pictures with my lesson, but for example, let's see, one of my words was predator. I might include a dinosaur with sharp teeth and explain why that's a predator. So the pictures can be the ones in the book also. I did include that here. But again, if needed, the internet's an awesome resource for pictures. I think that and then I did include why I think explicit instruction is beneficial, along with the participation in the actual lesson after the explicit instruction, I think would really reiterate what these words mean, especially for English language learners. And then my extension here, students will be prompted to use 2 or more of the vocabulary words, synonyms, or antonyms discussed. The teacher would provide the 2 words that they would have to incorporate into one sentence, also known as a paired word sentence. Students would include more than these, like discussed above, if they really want to, and be as creative as they would like. So I did include what I would have the paired words as, and I have prey and cackle, predator and den, mammal and pack, larva and ferocious, and omnivore and venomous. So I really would just want them to be as creative as they could be to include the 2 meanings of words that, yes, they are related, but not necessarily like prey and predator and cackle and pack. They are not necessarily related, so I would like them to use their creativity and creative thinking skills. So then my citations here, I just included the PA Standards website, Reading Rockets, which is where I got my idea for my adaptations as far as pictures and how that helps with ELs. And then I did get this worksheet off of Pinterest. I just searched vocabulary worksheets that could be utilized in a numerous amount of ways. All right. Thanks, guys.